video has started. Welcome everyone to Two Pagans in a Pod podcast. I am your host today, Fro Double G, and joining me is my wonderful co-host,
Beard.
Welcome in. Now,
Meow.
today, we decided that we will go over praxis, or practice. Practice is a Greek or Latin word, I forget which one, or derived from, that essentially just means practice, right? So it's essentially like what do we physically do? And we're going to break it down between what we do on the daily, what we do on the weekly, monthly, seasonal, yearly. We're going to go over that. So little bite-sized chunks, and we'll start small, work our way up. All right. Sorry for the audio listeners, but Beard, I don't know what position you just took with like your arms up and all that. But...
I was because my keyboard is right here, so I just started. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. Speaking of which, I have you over on my left monitor, right? Which I kind of wanted you over on my center monitor so I could like look at the camera and all that because it's a little bit more natural. But it also looks very nice to have you over here because then it has me kind of turned, right? And it actually has me facing towards my mic instead of off to the side. So it's I'm kind of a fan. I might leave it like this for now. Just saying, instead of like this, which then it'll be kind of awkward because like I'm looking right at the camera and like you are ish too, but then like this way it like very much so gives the like we could be, who knows? I could drop the fucking borders and we could be in the same room. We're not, but it looks like it.
Right. I mean, it'd be fun way to edit that and make it look like we are in the same room. Trick people. But now that we've done this, I guess we should have talked about that off camera.
So, I mean, it's not too bad. I could always just flip your camera if I wanted to be the other way. Right?
That's true. Anyways,
so let's start on our daily practices or daily praxis. This episode may be a little... Beard may go on a few tangents, and I'm gonna have to try to keep him under control there because he didn't write his half of the show notes essentially. So I'm all gonna be surprised where he's going. And again, it is kind of like a weird thing because like I have to stop Beard from rambling on right when he gets to his portion, but he has to like wholeheartedly like stop me from interrupting and derailing us off to fucking nowhere. As I'm sure anyone who listened to last week's episode would totally notice, I was very bad last week with that. I apologize. I mean, actually, no, I don't apologize. It's my fucking podcast. But I apologize to Beard for interrupting him. The rest of y'all, I don't, because this is our show.
I mean, I don't think it was as bad as it could have been. I mean,
Maybe.
It's not like when we did the initial recording that we had to go back and completely redo the entire thing. I think we rambled much more the first go around on episode us than we did
us,
the second.
Us rambling versus how much I interrupted you to derail us last episode is two totally different things. Maybe it's because I listened to it and then I had to turn around and edit it, right? I became very conscious that I was doing that. It's like this, I feel bad. I apologize. But anyways, let's get back on track a little bit more because we definitely weren't there already. And let's talk about our daily practice. So for me, there's two things that I do on the daily or almost every day. And the first one will be putting my Mjolnir on and saying a prayer to Thor. Thor, known as the protector god, right? Known as the working god. And so when I'm at work, when I go to put my Mjolnir on, or like on my way to work in the car or whatever in the morning, whatever, I will do a small little prayer to Thor and, thank him for helping me get through yesterday, promising I'll do my best to get through today. Yeah, that's it. Something real small. Something that's a daily practice I personally think should be very small. If it's too complicated, you just won't do it every day. or you will short term, but then fall out of it, and then it'll be a hard habit to get back into, or it can be. Um, but for my second one, I actually have a slight bit of show and tell here. I apologize, audio listeners, but I will describe. I have this little glass dish that I bought at Goodwill for like $3. There's a set of them. It's just a little Pyrex dish. I chose Pyrex. I was specifically looking for something that may be Pyrex, so it doesn't break. It's very small, maybe a cup. Oops, sorry, I hit my phone. Maybe a cup size or so, roughly, for audio listeners. And I've painted various runes on it. I got the Tyr, the Odala, the Fae, and the Algaze rune on it. And what I'll do is for my lunch, I'll usually have either a pack of crackers with either chicken salad or hummus cup. And I eat this regularly enough where I know I will have 2 crackers left over. No matter which one I eat, I will have 2 crackers left over. And those 2 crackers, I will take my dish that I just showed you guys. I will set it on the dash of my car. I will do a small little prayer. Usually another one to Thor. Sometimes Odin. Kind of that one I will leave a little bit more up to the day, right? Not every day is the same. Not every day at work, right? But then when I'm done, I will take that dish and I'll set it on top of my car. Now I do that because there is a set of crows that live either at my work or right by it, because they're there constantly. And I haven't done this consistently enough and often enough, I think. Either they just don't want to land on cars. But they haven't taken any crackers yet. But at the end of the day, I'll collect the bowl, and then on my way driving out, there's one particular lamppost I see them by all the time that I'll whip the crackers out, right? And that's it. That's my daily. So, Beard, what you got? I got a feeling it's probably going to be similar. With the daily one, it's probably, again, not going to be too terribly much. So
yeah, it's not too much different. I mean, obviously, I'm not wearing it right now because it's on my little stand thing that's right under my monitor here. Because it's a metal Mjolnir, so I don't like to wear it in the shower because it'll, you get all the oxidized crap on you and all that crap. But yeah, I wear my
I know it might be a little, like, I don't want to say heretical, but some people might. The term kind of fits. It might be a little heretical, but not in the theological sense. That I wear mine in the shower sometimes. It just depends. Most of the time I take it off, but some days I'm just like, fuck it.
I mean, the old one that I had before I got this one, I would wear it because it was on a like a string yarn thing. So it was just the hammer itself was the little metal piece. And I think it was iron, so I didn't really have any issues. But this one, like, the chain is metal, all of it's metal, and it's a fine metal. So
yeah, I do make sure to dry mine off though when I'm done. Like, I do separately, like, will dry it off. Shouldn't, but
I mean, usually too, when I'm at home, I usually don't wear it. I usually keep it somewhere close by. But I don't generally wear it when I'm in my home, unless I have, like, company coming over. But before I leave my house, I for sure will put it on. I gotta stop smacking my lips. I know it. I know I'm doing it. I'm sorry. So sorry, listeners. So besides,
I think the worst part is I don't hear it at all in Discord. Like, CRISPR must take care of that or something, or your noise gate. But 100%, it shows up on the Audacity. I'll let you edit sometime. You'll hear it. It's crazy how self-aware you'll become of certain things once you have to edit yourself. Like, I haven't had to edit in a bit, so I forgot how often I will pause and say So I'm definitely going to try to do better this episode about not pausing and say So white space is better than saying
This is true. I have the bug too, I guess you could call it. I've always kind of had it. Even when I stream, I do the and I know I shouldn't.
No, you have the right there. You just did that. You do I do I do.
I mean, that's fair. I will mainly do and the is kind of the less of the two. That's fair.
I disagree. I think sounds much worse.
That's fair.
Exactly. See, could be used as a bit of a like, it's a bit of a response. Like you can tell I'm processing. Just sounds like I fucking stubbed my toe and now I'm too dumb to think. It's just like,
That's fair. That's very fair. So getting back on task now that I have my
That's a
kitty cat in
good
my lap.
idea to do. Good idea.
So it's not too unsimilar than you. The only thing with me is that I don't leave it at lunch. I will typically do it as part of my dinner. Occasionally, especially now that I'm walking slash busing to work. There's a little like wooded area right next to my office because like I'm on this weird access road, and the only other thing on the access road is my the building that our the bank has that I work in, which isn't a branch. It's one of our support facilities. Across the street is a stone quarry, and then a little bit further down the road is the National Guard truck depot for um, the Oshkosh trucks. I forget the exact designation for them, but
Hey, Beard.
uh, yes,
Careful not to dox yourself, bud.
yeah, I know. It doesn't bother me if people know where I live.
I know we're not saying anything controversial or anything like that.
No.
But
Uh, so there's in that wooded area. There's at least one fox that lives in there, and there's turkeys that I haven't seen. We haven't seen the turkeys in a year or two, but there's a fox there, and I will occasionally spot him in the tree line when I'm walking to work. So I will like unspecifically kind of leave an offering out, kind of for whatever spirit is with the fox and in that kind of wooded patch, because
don't
it has been there.
don't even get me going on fucking foxes, dude. Like I I have searched and searched and searched. Have ever, a fox was involved in my Hell UPG, right?
Right.
I have literally contacted the local indigenous tribe or indigenous people, sorry, not tribe, and asked them respectfully if fox means anything. I explained my story real quickly, and I'm like, hey, and I'm not trying to pry into your guys' religion or anything. I'm just like, foxes aren't in Norse mythology, Norse religion. They just don't show up. Do they? And the reason I ask is like, do they locally? Like, and specifically, like, I'm not asking like just any indigenous. Like, locally, is it like? So I was trying to figure out like, is this a local thing? Is it just like, or is it? Because I also once a year, at least once a year, but usually like, I see a fox, and they're not super common in this area, right? And it's always just like, wait a minute, is that a fox? But
That's cool.
yeah, so it's just like I don't know if it's that, right? Or if it's or what it is. I just yeah. Anyways, foxes, fucking foxes, man.
So I mean,
I do
when it
love them.
comes
I do love
to
foxes. That's one of my favorite
yeah,
movies. Like all right, I'm gonna derail on us because I watched a 45-minute breakdown on the Fox and the Hound the other day. And I am not ashamed at all. It was very good. It was a very good breakdown of why all the people in that movie. It's well done, well constricted or well written, well put together movie. Everybody's motivations are believable. Everybody is acting within what they believe is probably the right. It's great. It's great.
it is definitely one of the better ones for sure.
Oh God, I'm pathetic.
Oh no, we're all Disney fans at heart. Just no one wants to admit it anymore. Isn't that right, Banksy? Everyone's Disney fans. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Hey, Beard.
I mean, sorry, talking to the cat.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway, so
And also not on camera. We are
is one
doing the
on camera.
podcast thing. We are doing a podcast.
That's fair. So I have a cat in my lap for the audio listeners. I'm sorry.
I
Anyway,
they assumed you weren't talking to me.
I mean, I would hope so, but you never know. You never know. So I don't even know if he's in camera view because of how my camera's set up. He might be.
He's not. He's not.
He's
I
not.
don't put. I
So
do not have your crotch in camera view.
Okay, so
I mean, to be fair, you don't have your crotch in camera view, but if you
that's fair.
did, I would cut it off. So
And I think at this point it probably would look really weird, my hand motions as I'm doing. But
it
anyway,
almost probably would make it look better because right now it's kind of cut off at your waist level.
mhm,
But for
yeah.
your daily practice, do you
Uh,
anything else besides those?
no, I mean, and it varies day to day based on,
Right.
if and when I have the extra to give, because I mean, being a one income family, spare food is not exactly overly common in my household. I try not to let anything go to waste, and if it is going to go to waste, I usually try to bring that up as an offering, which is typically why like leftover stuff with dinner, or if it's not enough for somebody to like heat it up as leftovers, I'll be sure to leave that out. Um, we give stuff to the cats all the time too. Even though only 3 of the 4 really will eat some of the stuff, but
My cat doesn't eat human food.
yeah,
I
my
am so fucking shocked. Like, dude, nuggets, chicken strips, actual like chicken breast, a hamburger. Uh, it does not ingest a lot of it. It probably just wants it fucking raw, is what it is. But
probably. I mean, Mr. Binks right here, who I'm holding. He's the one who doesn't typically eat human
did
food.
you say Binks?
Yes, Binks.
You have a black cat named Binks?
Yes.
It's for the exact reason I'm thinking of, right?
Yes, if you're thinking of a particular movie.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. This is the wife's doing.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Yeah, deep down, we're all Disney fans, right, bud? We're looping back around.
Well, no, I mean that's one of my wife's favorite movies, and that's why when she got him, that's why she named him, because she got him before we were married. So,
Yeah, I'm not gonna say much, dude. I have a magnet on my car right now that says it's all just a bunch of hocus pocus, right? But it actually has
that's
like
fair.
the Celtic Trinot or whatever. So I'm like, it's kind of cool. I'm gonna put it on my car. Although I
That's
am
fair.
tempted to put the one that says "Not Today, Satan" on there just for the lulz. There,
That
there is one more I want to get, literally for the lulz, right? It says, it goes for the back of your car, and it says, "Do you follow Jesus this closely?"
oh my god. That would get some head
Dude,
turns, that's for sure.
dude, that fucking cracked me up. It cracked me up. I was like, this
It
is good. This is good.
that is definitely a good one. I've seen a couple like other similar things, and of course you always have the coexist sticker that
I see
people
nothing
have.
wrong with the coexist sticker. I like it.
I like it, but all the handful of people that I've ever like,
Known to have it.
that known that have it shouldn't. Like
Yeah.
there's that like, or like the occasional time where it's like, oh, like I've parked in a parking space and then someone like coming or going like is getting into the car and I see that sticker and I'm like, hey, yeah, cool. Or like I'll point it out and I'll be like, yeah, no. I'm like, then why do you have it? It's just yeah. That's a whole other
That's a cool
tangent. I think.
coexist sticker. I like it. I'm Norse pagan. You should come to Christ. Wait a minute.
Right. I mean, I haven't had that happen
Wait a
yet,
minute.
but I mean, the day that does happen, I will definitely be like, so can I take it off for you? But
Real
yeah, I
quickly,
mean,
before we get us back on track, I do gotta say it is frustrating and nice at the same time that you can literally tell someone exactly what you are and it will not click to them, will not register. I was talking to a coworker the other day at work and something came up about Christmas coming up. I'm like, yeah, I don't really do the Christmas thing. I'm not Christian. He's like, oh yeah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Norse pagan. And it's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like an hour or two later, he mentions like, well, what do you do if you don't do Christmas? I'm like, well, I do Yule, blah, blah. I do some offering to the gods. And he's like, wait a minute, gods? I thought you said you're not Christian. I'm like, yeah, I'm Norse pagan. He's like, I worship Thor and Odin. He's like, oh, oh, I didn't even know what that was. Like, yeah, yep,
Yeah, I mean, there's that is a whole that is a rabbit hole that if I go down right now, it's gonna be a completely different episode.
yeah. Anyways, so
So
weekly
we'll save that
practice.
for another day. So yes,
We're
weekly
on to
practices.
weekly practice. Um, for me, I usually do a offering on Mondays. Um, it's usually just a general offering, unless I'm feeling pulled towards any particular deity that week. This is almost kind of a bit of my like exploration type offering, if you will. Um, if I want to try offering something different or trying to do something a little different, this is the one I'll usually experiment around a little bit. Um, through various things, whether it's like kneeling to pray, standing to pray. I personally kneel. I went over this the other day in a different chat, a different Discord we were in. I personally kneel because I don't have a chair in front of my altar, and I will usually pick a song or two to listen to while I sit there and just basically meditate. Um, Either that or I'll pull up like just nature sounds and type shit like that. But so basically, so I get a good like 10 minutes right there. And I'm not going to fucking spend the whole 10 minutes just standing uncomfortably or anything like that. So I'll kneel or sit, whatever makes me more fucking comfortable. It also puts me at eye level with my altar. Um, I don't know, and it's something very appealing about having the flame of the candle, because I use a lot of candles, eye level, especially when there's a mirror right behind it too. So it's like it's just visually appealing to me that way as well. Um, but yeah, I don't. Monday or my weekly offering is probably my most loosey goosey, if you will. What
Yeah,
about you?
I mean, mine's not specifically Monday. Mine will vary week to week. Like I didn't do anything today. Aside from we have, as part of showing the kids and explaining, to the kids and my wife, what Yule is and things like that. As we set up on the table and just kind of, I'm doing it as like a hodgepodge thing where we're kind of doing like a just for Yule holiday family altar, just to also explain to them, how an altar works and the kinds of things that you have on the altar. Uh, so I mean, I've left it open, since the family's doing it, everyone can, as Yule goes on, if they feel like they need to add something to the altar, they can add something to the altar. Um, so like every, night right now, which I guess this would technically be like a daily practice, I'll light the candles on that altar, but in terms of doing like actual offerings or anything like that, it'll vary from week to week. Uh, Sometimes I'll do something for Thor Thur- on Thursday. Uh, Sometimes I'll do something for Freya on Friday. I might do something for Odin on Wednesday. Maybe Tyr on Tuesday, and it just kind of whichever one in terms of like a specific day of the week. If I'm feeling that call towards that god more that week, then that'll be the day that I do it. Um, Otherwise, I kind of just like, if it feels right that week that I need to give an offering or I need to give thanks, even if it isn't to a god who kind of has the day of the week associated with them, then I'll just do. Now it's like winter time. Like, I'll do the occasional thing for Scotty here and there, just to, thank you for, not letting me biff it on the ice, um, while walking or whatever, or thank you for finally giving us snow, or just general things like that. I'll do maybe once a week. Um, Sometimes I will occasionally miss a week if I just didn't feel, if it just didn't feel right to do something, because I'm not gonna just do it to do it. I don't want to just, here, I'm just doing this to do it like that. That's because that kind of defeats the point, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
so I mean it. I mean, there's, in terms of like a general weekly offering, there usually is one, but here and there sometimes isn't, and it just kind of depends on what I feel like I need to make an offering to. I mean, there's weeks where I'll do multiple offerings. And again, it's all based on, what can I give up in terms of like a food, or is there something else that I can give up as an offering? Um, I mean, I've gone as far as giving up my last pen in an offering. Just kind of, again, just trying to, you know, offer up something or to whomever, or how, or even just the spirit in general, just to give thanks, or attempt to invoke some reciprocation of some sort. And it's it's hit and miss with anything. I mean, because again, a lot of it too comes just through 15 years of experience. Sometimes I make an offering, and I mean, maybe I just wasn't aware of the result, or maybe nothing came of it. Maybe I was praying to the wrong thing or giving the offering to the wrong thing, and maybe it ended up with somebody or something else, and the result wasn't clear to me. But again, I mean, that's experimentation for you too. So,
Mm-hmm.
other than
And
that,
that's experimenting. Again, that's my weekly one is the one that I experiment with the most. So I definitely get that.
yeah. Other than that, I mean, there's not really much else weekly. At least not that I've done on a consistent weekly basis at this point. I mean, I'm trying to do more of the craft related stuff, with like the woodworking and things like that. But that's more of just a as I have time to do woodworking kind of thing. So, but yeah, that's me for weekly. So monthly, Fro. What are we doing monthly?
I'm sneezing. Excuse me.
Well,
Sorry.
bless you,
I apologize.
bless you.
I know I had a half sneeze I caught earlier. I tried to stop it. Um. So monthly, my wife has been feeling a pull towards the moon quite heavily. Um. So we try to. I don't do an offering or anything like that. I just try to simply observe the full moon or the moons when it's sometime around its full state. Literally just admire it for a minute. It's just that simple. But one thing I want to work on, and I kind of want, this is one I've been wanting to get to it, but my wife's also kind of been kicking around some interest, right? And my youngest a bit too, so I kind of want to talk to them a little bit about it. I kind of want to, this is all personal shit, by the way, assign a god to a month to maybe try to do an offering to the god for that month. But a bit of that has to do with the simple fact that, like, I don't get to go out and do like any community gatherings or bloats or anything like that. And if I had enough people to do a actual, like, have local group, I would probably do like a monthly bloat, right?
Yeah.
And like I'm pretty, like, that's at least a monthly bloat would be something I'd want to do. So anything kind of in between there is just a filler, because I know my end goal, I want to have people together to do a little blow, even if it's only like 4 or 5 of us. But yeah. So observe basically the lunar cycles, and again, I'm just probably gonna assign a god to do like just a prayer for the month. Maybe I might do something, craft something, make something inspired for or by the god. Now I do know I wanted 2 of the months to be one for ancestors, which will probably be October, because it ends with Sogwin, and one for the house spirits, which I might do in November, simply because that's when you start to be cooped up inside a little bit more. And it's also Thanksgiving, so you're like we just covered, the ancestors. Have Yule the month after that, so it's like kind of sandwiched in the middle there. It just to me seems like that would fit the most, but I really don't know what I'd do about the other 9 months. But Beard, what about you, bud?
Um, for me, it's more of what I'd want to do, and it goes back to like you were saying, having a kindred or a local community of some sort, which is by far apparently the hardest fucking thing to do. Um, so I mean, because as of right now, because of like the between the daily practice stuff that I've done for years and the weekly practice based stuff that I've done for years, there's never really been like I don't want to say need, but that's basically the only way I can describe it. There hasn't really been a need to specifically do like, oh, for the month of May, Pro just ran away. Yep. Have you returned, Fro?
You could have gone on
Okay.
without me. I just had to get up real
I
quickly.
okay. I didn't know. I guess I should have kept going.
My
So that
nose
was
is
a really
beginning
weird pause.
to like run unbelievably.
Fair. So,
Anyone who lives in the Northwest can you can attest that there are 4 seasons in Michigan. Fuck, my nose is plugged. Fuck, it's allergy season. Fuck, it's humid allergy season. Fuck, it's the humid allergy season, or it's the last allergy season. And that covers the 4 seasons in the Northwest. And currently we're in the fuck, my nose is plugged.
and that sounds fair because it's about the same here in Wisconsin. Um, so yeah, basically, I mean, between the stuff that I do basically daily and the stuff that I do almost weekly or just about weekly, between those two things, I've never really felt like a personal need to do something. Again, being just me for the last 15 years, to do something specifically just for the month, outside of holiday, more stuff, which is our next thing, I think. Well, I
Yeah.
guess seasonal is
Yeah,
our
I
next
think I
thing.
think monthly. Well, the next two are kind of together. I split
Yeah.
them for semantic purposes, but they're essentially the same. Um, yeah, I think monthly is probably the one thing that no one necessarily. I can't say no one that the least amount of people probably plan for or do anything specifically for. Mainly because a lot of there wasn't anything in history, so not many reconstructionists have like, hey, this month they did this that I know of, and I don't in our busy modern life, I don't think a lot of people. If you are planning things to do specifically monthly, you're probably planning a gathering, right? So,
Right. I mean,
and
that's
again,
something that I would.
this is filler for me until then.
Right. I mean, and that's basically. I'm in that same page. It's like I would like to be doing something monthly, as a way to gather people together, and maybe like once my family is a little more up with it, and if it's something that the kids especially definitely want to be doing more of, maybe we'll do more of that. Whereas I'll leave the daily and the weekly stuff for just myself. And of course work with them to build their own daily and weekly practices as they want. But um, as they get more educated with it and stuff, and because I mean that's the hardest part about with the kids is that not trying to push it onto them. So we're trying to just let them, if they want to participate, they can, you know, do it, and so it's just kind of like small baby steps.
I'm
So that way
kind
I'm
of
not
caught in
just
a bit of a catch-22, right? Because, for instance, when I did my Sogwin, the whole family went out to the graveyard. I didn't make my kids do anything while they were out there, right? Like
Right.
they just kind of wandered around, but they went with us because I wasn't going to leave them at home. My kids are also a little bit younger. Um,
And that's fair. I mean, like when it comes to like
Mainly because it would have been
especially
an extended period too. So it's like,
right. I mean,
no,
so
we're not
like
going to just leave you at home. And it's kind of one of the things where it's like, you kind of, I don't want to force my kids anything, but I do want to expose them at the same time. So there was things like we went out to buy flowers, right? So that's part of the reason why the whole thing took so long was I had to go out and buy flowers and actually drive out there. And, we hung out. I cleaned off the gravestone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I got them involved by like, hey kids, what flowers do you think we should get type thing? But I wasn't like being forceful. Like, all right, now we got the flowers. You have to set them on the gravestone. Blah, 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 pray. Like, I just didn't do that.
and that's kind of what we've been doing, or what I've been doing with my kids, and with my wife too. I mean, she knows some, but she doesn't know Norse related stuff specifically. So like with like my little one who's only 5, as he's made an appearance in the last 2 episodes. The reason he hasn't made an appearance yet is because he is sick as a dog and he's actually asleep right now. So, um, don't worry, he is feeling better though compared to what he had been. So
Here, help him.
yes, I will admit I have done little things because it was bad the last couple days. Oh, actually, I might have spoken too soon.
So while he figures out whether or not he spoke too soon, I'm gonna get us a little bit back on track here. So for the next section, I had written down seasonal, and right below that, yearly holidays. Those are all pretty closely linked. The only reason I separated them is because when I first started being a pagan, I didn't really know the holidays. I didn't really know where to start, but I knew look to nature, right? That's just kind of, I felt like the answer was look to nature. What's one of the most obvious things in nature? Well, I guess not necessarily obvious because like I wouldn't notice, right? But what's like a big thing in nature that happens every year? The equinoxes and the solstices, right? So I started with those and would just basically we'd have a small dinner and I'd do a small prayer and offer a portion of that meal. I did that for the first, let's see, it would have been Ostara in Midsummer this year. But now that I'm a little bit more in the know, a little more in the holidays, looking into them, I will still be celebrating them, but I actually know some holidays to attach to the dates and the days now, right? To give it, I guess, not some significance, but to give it a name. And the only outlier is the super blood moon. I did do a bit of a ritual for that, just because the rarity of all 3 of them happening at the same time, and there's also a bit of me trying to do some spells for the first time, simple candle magic, candle charms. Yes, I did light a candle. I don't. What I did is I had 2 tags with my my family's name and my names, like all whatever, right? And I tied them to the candle, the wick of the candle, and then lit that in the parking lot and just prayed over that to basically to have Monty help, keep us together and tighten it as a family. Look over us essentially. But yeah, I know you said you basically we can skip the seasonal portion for you and just move right into the yearly, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
because it all, I mean, the two for me are kind of just the same thing at this point.
right. So I
Um,
guess before I hand it over to you, I'm sorry. Uh,
no, you're good.
let me touch on the actual holidays that I have kind of settled into. And that would be Yule, Ostara, Midsummer, and Samhain. Those four, what do you know? Those all happen to be the the solstice and the equinox ones. But those are the four that. Um, Actually, I lied. Samhain isn't the fall equinox one. Um, so yeah, I guess that'd be the outlier because I would still do the fall equinox by itself. Um, yeah, those would be the Asatru or Wiccan style, pagan style holidays that I actually choose to follow.
Um,
Along with obviously like we do the Valentines and all that. We do New Year's, we do Memorial Day, and all the other days like Fourth of July, etc. Right? So it's on top of all the other American holidays.
which is fair. I mean, I wasn't really going to include those myself, but I mean, yeah, I mean, we do those. I mean, a big one for me is of course Memorial Day and Veterans Day because
Yep.
outside of me and my brother, um, and I was going to say our cousins, but that's not true anymore because now we have cousins that have either served as first responders or in the military now. So me and my brother are literally the only ones in our family out of, when we can't even say generation because we have cousins now. But now it's basically wait and see to see what our kids end up doing, to see if our kids end up joining the military. But as far back as we can find in our family history, there's always been multiple people per generation that have served in the military. Like both of my parents served. Um, Most of my grandparents or my grandfathers both served. Their fathers and their fathers before them, and so on and so forth, have all served. Um, so those are two big ones in my family. Even just growing up without what did I do with my slippers? Anyway, yeah, just growing up, I mean that was a big thing in our family was to observe those. So I mean, one thing that I have started doing before I get into the more actual side of things, um, for me, especially on Memorial Day, I will tend to do uh, if I haven't like just kind of like gone outside and given like a small little offering of some sort, usually like a beer or a wine. Um, I'll either burn a letter that I wrote, or I will just kind of say something aloud. Because all the time I will just kind of speak internally for the most part, in kind of more of a meditative way with a lot of my prayer ritual stuff. But when it specifically comes to the Memorial Day / Veterans Day things that I do, I've always spoken them aloud or I've just burned a letter. I've also done that during this time of year. This time of year, at the time of the recording, being the Yule time of year. Just because for me, I don't know if it's technically. I mean, in all the things that I've been looking up for Yule, especially recently, I haven't seen anything specifically about doing something like this. But I kind of do it again. I always will, and maybe not to this. Maybe I'm not writing a letter to the same person or saying something aloud for the same person, or maybe I'm speaking more in general at the end of the year. But I always kind of do something for those who have fallen, either throughout the year or just throughout my life. Because for anybody who caught last episode, I've had a lot of people who've passed away in my life, and it's been, dare I say, what feels like a consistent basis. So it's just kind of something that I've always done. It's always just felt natural to me, as a way to honor them, as a way to communicate to them, to let them know that they're still being thought of. Um, and it's just it feels like it's a growing list every year, but it's something that's one of the important things about Yule that I've done. uh, with my family as part of teaching them Yule, and I've also specified to them that it is a personal thing that I have done. But both of my stepkids are planning on writing letters that we're going to burn when we make our offering on the end of Yule, which also coincides with Christmas Day because we are still doing Christmas in the house because that's what the kids are used to. But we're
Yeah,
gonna do
we're very like tripping over ourselves in our house this year because it's like Christmas, Yule, Christmas, back and forth. It's like, oh, well, I mean, we're doing Christmas because the kids are used to it, but I think next year, we're gonna drop the whole Christmas and it's going to be full fledged Yule. Like, no, we're not at all. Santa's not. I mean, I also think next year kids won't believe in Santa anymore, which will help, right?
right.
Because it's,
I mean, but
I honestly, that's kind of the biggest like hang up right now. Because like we don't hit it from a religious angle at all already, right? So it's not like we're celebrating Jesus' birth. Aren't you happy for the little baby? No, we're like, hey, it's presents and shit and family time and food. Like that's kind of the angle it's just always been for us, anyways. But now it's like, well, how do we be like, yeah, Santa changed his holiday's name, you know?
right.
Whereas
And
next
that's
year we
kind
can be
of
like, no, this is a religious thing. It is about honoring the gods, family, fame, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But
that
you did mention burning a letter, and I do want to bring this up because I also mentioned how that candle was I claimed to be my first spell, um, or charm or ritual or whatever you want to go with, which I guess that's not entirely fair or true. Um, well, I've done other offerings and rituals before that, a couple of them, but nothing to any that sort of extent at all. Nothing that just wasn't a simple offering of food or libation or liquid. Um, the very when I first was like, "Hey, yo, I think this is the path I'm going on." The one of the very first things I did is I wrote a letter slash poem to the gods in general, inviting them into my home. Like I'm willing to go down this. I don't remember the exact words, but it's essentially like, you know, my eyes have been opened. As I roam, I now invite you gods into my home. Right? It was something very short and like that. Um, and then I burned it out in my front yard. So I mean, do you want to call that a spell? Maybe. Ritual? Definitely. Prayer? Yeah, I was praying. Spell? Maybe. I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's like I guess that could be it too. But I'm derailing us. I apologize. It just
no,
seemed like an
it's
appropriate place to bring that up.
and it's fair. I mean, I in terms of like for us to backtrack a smidge, we're kind of in that same spot with the kids because really
Yeah, you
the
got the
only
older
kid
kids too. Yeah.
the only kid who does the Santa thing is our youngest, and it's like the last, you know, three he kind of knew what was going on. Last year at 4 years old, he absolutely knew what was going on in terms of what Christmas was, and then of course this year he absolutely understands that Christmas is Santa Claus and this and that, and of
Right.
course
Now that it's
that's what they're
solidified, how you gonna go about changing it all versus
yeah.
just letting the
So
ball roll and then yeah. See, I get you. I get you. I'm in that
yeah,
same. I'm a little further along though, so it's kind of
yeah,
like I'm I'm at the other end of the double edged sword, right? Where it's
right,
like it's more established, but like because he hasn't just figured it out, I won't feel like I won't feel like I'm like bursting bubbles. You know what I mean?
right. I
As
mean,
bad.
so what we'll probably end up doing, um, at least probably for the next couple years until he figures it out, is that we'll probably do the Yule. We may or may not do it because right now we're doing it. I'm trying to do it for the 12 days thing. It's not working out very well, but trying. Um, so probably like over the next couple years, we'll probably keep trying to do it as either the 12-day kind of thing, or maybe we'll just shorten it down to the kind of the 3-day thing, which seems to be the more common one for Yule lately.
Yeah. Date
Um,
wise, I can tell you what I'm gonna try to do is I'm shooting for the 3 day. And I'm going to, depending on when the solstice is what I'm going to base it. But going towards Christmas, right? Like, because it's time off, right? I get Christmas
Right.
Day off. It's a paid holiday for me. I don't get the day of the winter solstice off. So I'm going to work around it, but that is my intent, right?
And that's kind of where we're at with it too, because again, the same thing. I'm only off on Christmas.
Actual
The
Christmas.
Yeah, and then the rest of the month is like booked solid because I'm low man on the totem pole for even though I'm the work lead, I'm low man on the totem pole for vacation planning.
Yep.
So with that, we're gonna probably continue to do it around Christmas break, especially because we have kids, and even in the next couple years, if we decide to shed the Christmas thing entirely, it's still going to be better because then it's still going to be like, trying to align things with the Christmas season, the Christmas break
Right.
time, all of that jazz. So,
we do have limitations we have to work within.
right. And it's the same thing
extent.
for like, the Easter time frame, which, I only recently kind of figured out the whole, or I shouldn't say figured out, learned about the specifics of Ostara, but oddly enough, like the things that we do for Easter time anyway, kind of align with
And that's
kind
the
of that
other
whole thing
side of it.
anyway.
How much of it is like, well, I want to do this kind of pagan like, and then you look at it and you're like, so I just stopped saying Jesus and continued doing what I was doing. Got it.
Basically,
On some
for us,
things, right?
it's yeah, and for us, for Easter, again, we aren't making it religious in any way, shape, or form. It's all just about Easter Bunny and finding the eggs and doing the egg hunt. But the way that we've fashioned the egg hunt every year is it's been a quest or an adventure that they go on, and it's like, huh, I could just we could just alter that just a tiny bit, and we could literally be doing the same thing, and it wouldn't be any different. So like next year, we're gonna kind of do, we're gonna kind of do the same kind of doing what we did this year with Yule. We're gonna try and do the same thing where it's like it's Easter, but it's also this, and
Right.
explain, educate the kids, and then maybe in a couple years, again,
Change
once
it up
little
for
man
them.
is older,
Yeah.
shed the Easter side of it and just make it Ostara.
Right. Well, Beard,
When it comes to
I hate to cut us too terribly short though, bud, but we did cover all the points we wanted, and my family just pulled in, which means it's about to get loud here. So I think this is a great spot to stop. If you liked it, please like the episode and subscribe, comment what we should talk about next. But it is time for us to call it a wrap. Goodbye.
bye.
Feels weird to smile like that.